What is going on, my friends? It is Mike, and I am here to talk to you today about a topic that is really relevant, especially as we are going into the weekend. And that is the differentiation between taking a break and taking a backslide. And this is a conversation that takes place quite often, and it's one that I had just the other day. So it is fresh in my mind, and I'm excited to bring it to you because this is something, and this is going to be some activities that you can apply going into this weekend to make sure that your break doesn't turn into a backslide. So first, let's just talk about what is the difference between taking a break and having a backslide. Well, the difference is one is intentional, the other is uncontrollable. That is the difference. When we are taking a break, we are being very intentional about the fact that we might not be following through 100% on the plan that we have in place. But a backslide is something that we have zero control over, or at least we have control, but we're not exhibiting any control at that time because we've just taken ourselves down this rabbit hole and we're trying to find ways to recover. So an example of this. Now, first, let me point out that a break can happen for a day. A break could happen for a week. It could happen for months, but there is still a significant difference between that and a backslide. And here it is. Last week, I was away. Corey, Beth, and I were in California, and I decided I was going to take a break. Now, that didn't mean that all day, every day was filled with drinks, filled with just really poor choices, or just eating indiscriminately. I still did my best to stay on point, but I knew that I couldn't control all of my circumstances, or at least I desired not to control all of my circumstances and said, hey, I'm going to allow myself these indulgences and I'm not going to make a big deal about it. And sometimes those things happen even when not being away or having a planned vacation, but rather just within the course of a regular month. There might be a couple of days in which I just decide, you know what, today I'm just going to take a break. And yet I'll still try to hit certain targets, but I'm not going to worry about the pizza with the family on Friday night. I'm not going to be overly concerned about how I order when I go out to dinner that night. And that is the difference. It's being very intentional about I am going to do these things, or I'm going to allow for these things in, but then I'm also going to still do a lot, maybe still the majority of the right things. Now, a backslide is where you just throw caution to the wind and you just do not care. You just allow yourself to go down that hole of grabbing a cookie every day, having a bowl of ice cream at night, allowing yourself to go out to eat every single day, or just basically saying, hey, whatever, if I drink on the weekend and I binge, no big deal. That is uncontrollable, and that's not where we want to be. So what can you do to avoid a backslide? Because oftentimes a backslide will come off of the back of a break. I decide that for these few days, I'm not going to worry about anything. But then what happens is that it just gets too easy to fall into that routine of not being worried and just doing whatever you choose to do. So here are the three things that you can do in order to avoid going into a backslide. The first is plan your breaks. I just mentioned before, you have to be really intentional about this. You're just basically saying, like, I'm going to decide, or I'm going to plan on this day, this night, this week, this month maybe, to allow myself to do X, Y, Z. Okay. And oftentimes, here's the kicker. A break can lead to a breakthrough. So breaks are not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, when I used to compete as a natural bodybuilder or coach a lot of figure competitors, one of the things that we would always do is we would plan a break, even within the scope of contest prep. There were still planned breaks because oftentimes those breaks would lead to the next breakthrough. So if you are getting into a rut and you feel completely stuck, then oftentimes that is a hormonal thing that's taking place. And inserting a break can give your body the bump in leptin it needs in order to make that breakthrough. And off the back of it, we would typically see weight drops immediately after the break. The next thing, recognize your patterns. Recognize your patterns. There are certain things that you do that routinely lead to a backslide. Maybe it's X number of consecutive days indulging in something. And if you know that, then what do? Cut back on the number of days that you indulge, right? It's planning ahead. It's about being intentional. But you have to recognize those patterns. And then once you see that you get yourself into this pattern each and every time, then you could be more intentional about breaking the pattern. The last thing, the third thing, is get an accountability partner. Listen, it doesn't have to be us. You don't have to necessarily hire a coach, right? Of course, that's going to give you also the professional that you need on your side to help you plan those breaks properly and to avoid those backslides. But an accountability partner could be anybody who you state your intention to. So this is just basically letting somebody know, yeah, I'm taking a break, or I'm going to allow myself to do this, but also letting them know what your plan is after the break. Somebody who maybe it's your gym partner, right? Somebody who pulls you back in and doesn't ever let you get too far off track. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all need. We all need accountability. I was on the phone with my coach yesterday saying, hey, you know what? I'll be honest, I disengaged for a little bit and, I really need to get back on track. So I am back. I'm here because I need the accountability, because it's too easy to feel or think that I got it. Everything's okay. Not a big deal. But it is a big deal, because if you're not, or I'm not performing up to where we really desire to be, then whose fault is it? Ultimately, it falls on us, but we had a person in our corner the entire time who could have helped keep us from going down that road. So be sure that you 100% have an accountability partner. And that's it. If you can do those three things, then you can routinely avoid going into a backslide and enjoy your breaks. Well, listen, guys, if you're taking a break this weekend, enjoy it, but be intentional about it. All right. And hopefully you will be right back on that train, right? I'll come Monday. Come Monday, you are right back on that train. But also don't get too far off the tracks on Saturday and Sunday. You guys have a great one. See you later.